First, let's get something out of the way. The responsibilities of engineering managers across different companies would differ. So will their titles. So instead of assuming what these titles actually mean, let's talk about the responsibilities. Let's talk about specifically what software engineering managers are responsible for. And to kick it off, I'll talk about the most important responsibility, and that is the team's success. The team's success is your single most important responsibility as a software engineering manager. There's nothing else as important as this. What that actually means is that you're technically responsible for everything that's going on in your team, from the output to the people to the technology, risks, outages, anything. Now, that may sound like a lot, but we'll break this down a little bit into three different types of leadership. Let's start with technology leadership. Now, this category is likely the most familiar with anybody who is a software engineering manager or is a software engineer at the moment. The reason why this is familiar is because, well, this is what the senior engineers do before they step to the next level, which is software engineering manager. Now, you're responsible for the whole team now, and you're not just responsible for yourself, so some of these things actually change. For example, code quality. Instead of being responsible for your code quality, you're now responsible to create processes where to raise the code quality for the entire team. So you want to improve the quality of the entire team, not just yourself. Continuous learning. Instead of ensuring you're learning, you have to ensure that your team is learning. And you have to follow any technology trends or anything that needs to be upskilled in your team for future projects. Architecture. As a software engineering manager, you're looking after the architecture of the team. Now, this can be a responsibility of one of your senior engineers. However, ultimately, that's what you are responsible for. Technology vision and technology strategy. Now, the vision is the part where you know where you're going. Effectively, that's the direction of which you want to go as a software engineering team. And your vision is usually aligned with where the product is going as well. The technology strategy, on the other hand, is the concrete steps or the implementation of the vision. How do you want to get to where you want to get? You're also responsible for the software development lifecycle and operational health of the team. In SDLC, you're talking about all the technology aspects of software development, how you deliver your code, essentially everything that the team does from software's perspective. Now, in large organizations, this may look slightly different because there will be teams that are actually taking care of that. But in smaller organizations, there's a lot more that you need to do. Operational health. Every service outage or any outage really with your team is your responsibility. You must ensure that you prevent it and address them promptly. And as a group, you learn from every one of them. The next category we'll cover is product leadership. Probably a category that's familiar to some software engineers, but most of them wouldn't really be exposed as much to it. I guess the things that people would be familiar is like, for example, breaking down requirements, discussing with your product owners and stuff like that. But there is a lot more for software engineering managers actually. So for example, you need to be looking after the product vision. That may sound like the job of the product manager, but in reality, this is also what the software engineering managers need to do. You have a say what the product vision is going to be because your technology is going to underpin where your product is going. So it's important that you also agree and understand it very, very well. Now, this is where also the product and technology alignment comes in. Whatever the product vision is, you have to ensure that your team is able to produce the technology to support it. It's very, very important. Defining your business requirements is the more standard part of what exactly you're doing as a software engineer. So this part is probably very familiar to you. Then comes prioritization, which is where the product and engineering come together and ensure that they are working on the most valuable thing for the company. As a software engineering manager, your responsibility is to push back on your product to make sure that you're actually working on the most important stuff, because that may not be the case. Budgeting for work. Now, budgeting for work sounds easy as well, but potentially it won't be if you have competing priorities from different teams or different products. Some situations include when you have to pay down technical debt or you have to do things that are more technology related and your product maybe doesn't understand them. But you have to make sure that these things get done so you address the technological risk behind it. Connecting product goals to the team. It's very easy for a team that sits close to the product to be connected with what's going on with the product, what our customers want, and so on. However, this is a lot harder if your team sits further away from the product, and for example, you're more infrastructure and architecture related team. Now, this is where you come in as a product owner, but also as an engineering manager to give that vision to the team to keep them inspired and keep them where they need to be as a team together. Delivery. Delivery essentially is getting stuff done. You want to make sure you're delivering consistently as a software engineering manager because this is pretty much at the core of what we do. The final category is people leadership. Well, this category is probably unfamiliar to most software engineers. However, I'm sure you've seen it in action and you've experienced it yourself. Let's break this down a little bit so you understand a little bit better what's included in this category of leadership. Here we have things like career development, which is an incredible tool for software engineering managers to grow their team, ensure they have the right skills, but also keep them inspired and engaged in what they do day to day. Empowering people. When you trust your people to make decisions, especially when they're difficult decisions, and learn from their mistakes, they'll be engaged and they'll trust you. This is really important tool for you as a software engineering manager. Delegation and support. You have to delegate the work to others, otherwise you won't be able to complete nearly as much as a team. However, you have to ensure also that there are enough checkpoints so that the team can essentially prove that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Trust them to deliver, but provide enough support. Continuous feedback. Everyone knows about feedback, and not everybody loves it. However, this is one of the most important tools that software engineering managers have to grow individuals in your team and ensure that we are moving in the right direction. You have to continuously inform your team how they're doing and provide them with guidance on positive or negative events that happen to them. Culture. Culture is the more advanced part of people leadership. This is where all the things come together and create a culture that would benefit the team in the long run. Now, I'm saying it's more advanced because software engineering managers that start at the beginning find it very difficult to deal with individuals. And it's even harder when you have to shape a culture and shape that culture based on what the team needs. Performance management. Actively set expectations and support team members who are struggling. Now, this means that you have to help everybody in your team to perform at the level they must. However, in some cases, this will not be possible and you're going to have to let them go. And this is perhaps the hardest part of being a software engineering manager. Diversity and inclusion. It may sound like this is a fancy HR term, but in reality, what you have to think about is what are the skill sets, the backgrounds of the people of your team. You have to ensure that you have enough diversity in your team to get the stuff done the way that you need to get them done. That means diversity in skills, diversity in mindsets. Hiring. Now, adding to diversity and inclusion, hiring is a tool that the software engineering managers can use to improve what their teams look like. The things you have to think about here is what is the profile of the person that you're looking for? What's the skill set that they need? What is the culture that you're looking for in terms of fit? Are you trying to change something in your team? All these things together should inform and drive your hiring strategy. And that's it, folks. That's the software engineering manager responsibilities in a nutshell. Now, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more nuances on all the other responsibilities that we've covered today. However, if you think about it as people leadership, technological leadership, and product leadership, you're probably in the right track. Think about how this may break down for you in your organization, and that will give you the software engineering manager responsibilities. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you.